Hello everyone and welcome to Future Justice Talks. It's me, Sanatha. I'm Justice Wally. I'm a student who love learning about new ideas and working on the ideas and yes, much more. And I also love speaking with the people who are creating impact at a young age. Today, I'm really happy to welcome Stella Mayar. Stella is podcast director at EconUnited, where she works on podcasts about economics, market, and finance. She collaborates with experts and helps run complex topics into simple and engaging conversations. She has also participated in the Harvard John Paulson School of Engineering and Applied Science Venture Tech program, is also involved in student leadership and is studying through early age program connected to University of Kankan. Stella, I welcome you to Future Justice Talks. I hope you're doing well. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me and giving me your precious time. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Oh, it's $20, right? When did it do? You're muted. These kids are.
Oh, I'm sorry. And so, Stella, moving to my first question, can you tell us about your journey and how you become interested in podcast and economics?
How I became interested in podcasts and economics. Well, my interest in economics, I guess it first started when I was younger. I was always interested in, bro, I'm sorry. Um, I was always interested in, finances and expenses and how they affect my family. So when I was exploring that and trying to learn more about that, that's how I got into economics. And then I went on to find the club called EconUnited, and they had a spot open for a podcast director. So I applied because from what I learned from my Harvard program, my Harvard summer program, I learned a lot of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship finance. And so I was like, oh, why don't I use what I learned from there to become a podcast director and teach people about that sort of thing?
Wow, amazing, Stella. I enjoyed it. So, Stella, can you tell me you work on topics like market and finance, which many students find difficult. How do you make these topics simple for your audience?
How I make these topics more simple for my audience. I try to use simpler words. Like I try not to use big words that not a lot of people know. Um, and I always try to compress one big word into a bunch of smaller words. So like to describe something that not many people would know about, I describe it in like essentially the way that you teach like a small child, because I know that these topics can get very confusing very quickly. I learned that through my summer program. So I've always been that kind of person to turn big words into smaller ones. So that's usually how I do it.
Yeah, it's an amazing technique that you choose. Um, Stella, what inspired you to join Econs United and take a leadership role as a podcast director?
What inspired me? What inspired me? Well, during the summer that I was in the Harvard program, I was also working as a tutor at my local library. So I guess it came from that desire to teach. Uh, and then also I was just like looking for something to do because I was like, it was summer. I had almost nothing to do. I was bored. So I was like, what, why not put myself in a podcast? And I'm still doing it to this day, even while I'm in school.
Oh, wow, great, Stella. It's so amazing. So, Stella, what was one challenge you faced while producing podcast and how did you overcome it?
Hmm. Making the scripts long enough, I say, is my biggest challenge because the videos have to be around 10 minutes, 15 minutes long. And it's like, how do I make a script where I can talk about one thing or two things for 10, 15 minutes? So it's definitely the length of the script that gets me. And then also, well, I'm lucky enough to be in the position right now, in this current day and age, because there's a lot to talk about in terms of economics. So that part, it's not that hard for me to find something to talk about. Like my next podcast, my upcoming podcast is going to be about the Iranian rial being worth $0 and what that means for the people in Iran and businesses over there. So yeah, it's definitely just like the length of the script.
Oh, yeah, it is. So, Stella, you were involved in leadership programs and student activities. So, how does these experience help you grow personally?
Well, how these experiences help me personally? I'd say my most profound one, which is Student Senate, one that I started my 10th grade year, so like 3 years ago, and I'm still doing it now. I'd say that was one of my most profound, and how that's helped me in my life. Well, it helped me step out of my bubble. I wasn't very like outgoing or very like leader. I wasn't a very like leader type of person before I joined Student Senate. So it definitely like broke me out of my shell and introduced me to that world. And it brought me like many opportunities after that, like testifying at my state's capital or giving speeches about women's voting rights. So I'd say that. And then also, it's helped me become a better person.
Oh, great, Stella. So, you work on topics like market and finance. Um, oh, like stuff. So, Stella, can you tell us? Oh, Stella, many young students are unsure about their future careers. How do you start discovering your interests?
How I started discovering my interests. Well, I knew that after I left school, I didn't want to be like someone who studied something. It didn't have a very like affluent career afterwards. So it I already I got into economics and stuff like that. So I kind of just used that inspiration from like how I've seen money change my life, change my family's life, and affect like the people around me's lives. And I was like, maybe that's what I want to do when I'm older. And then at first I forgot about that idea. And then I was like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. But then eventually I came back to that like childhood passion. And that's how I chose like the field that I'm in. So advice that I have for people who are like still confused, I'd say pick maybe 5 things that you're passionate about, or whatever amount. Like if you have 3 things, that's fine too. And you can look for careers that are in those things through like Google, or because I use Google, and I also use LinkedIn, and I was just like asking the people around me, hey, what's a something that's in this field or a job that's in this field. And that's how I found out that I wanted to go and study finance when I'm in college.
Oh, yeah, interesting, Stella. So, you've been part of academic and innovation programs, which is one experience that changed the way you think about your future.
Hmm. Well, I'd say most, if not most of it came from the Harvard summer program. How that helped me change the way I think about my future. I learned like I gained a lot more insight on entrepreneurship and finance when I did that program. And through that, I kind of realized that it's much harder to come up with a business idea than I thought. Because like there's so many businesses out there, and there's so many problems, and there's so many people making so many solutions. I was like, I don't really know what I want to make. I don't really know what kind of business I want to start. But then I realized that I'm okay with someone who works with small businesses because I've seen in my hometown, I used to live in Hartford, Connecticut. So in my hometown, I saw lots of like small businesses have to close their doors because they didn't have like money, they didn't know how to allocate their resources. And so I realized I was the kind of person that was okay with helping people with that instead of being like the leader or the face of a brand. I kind of just want to work with the money and prevent a business from having to close their doors.
Wow, Stella, great mindset. I really liked it. So, Stella, how has working on podcast improved your confidence or communication skills?
Um, so after a while, I started getting like the hang of making podcasts, and I guess how that helped me refine my communication skills. I used less of one word and I used more of multiple words to get my point across. And I think that really also helped me as a speaker as well. So I also took a public speaking class at Central Connecticut State University. And so that also helped me make my podcast. How I'd say that helped me. Well, I don't know exactly what audience I'm catering to right now. I know I'm catering more towards young people because those are the people that are a part of EconUnited. I haven't really reached outside of that community yet, but maybe one day I will. I'm not too sure.
Oh, yeah. So, Stella, um, what do you enjoy more? Researching ideas or creating the final podcast content, and why?
I would say, oh, that's a hard question. It's hard to choose between the two. I'd say making the podcast is the most fun part because, yeah, I did all of like the research to make the script, but I still had to formulate my own words and shift the meanings around to get to the final message. And that's the most fun part to me because it's easier for me to just like start putting words on a paper. And the recording process is also really fun too. Sometimes I do mess up and I have to start over, but the recording process is fun and posting it and seeing like the views and the responses that it gets. It's the most rewarding part besides the research. So I'd say recording.
Oh, yeah, recording is amazing. I don't have confidence in recording or like doing a podcast that much, but yeah. Um, Stella, Stella, if you could interview any economist or world leader, who would it be, and what would you ask them?
Hmm. I could interview any economist or hmm. I might need a couple minutes to think about this. Hard. Any economist, I would say, I would say Simon Johnson is a good economist that I would want to interview. I know he got a Nobel Prize, I think in 2024 or 2023 or something like that with um, Darren Acemoglu. I don't know how to say his last name. So I know he got the Nobel Prize for studies on how institutions are formed and affect prosperity in certain places. So that was also something that was interesting. So we just share a common interest with that. So I'd say Simon Johnson or Darren Acemoglu. What would I ask them? I'm not sure. I guess I'd ask them, was it hard to study economics? at MIT, because I know they both graduated from MIT. So was it hard to study economics, and how did you get into depth on how institutions are formed and affect prosperity? That's what I asked them.
Wow, amazing choice, Stella. I liked it. So, Stella, economic is connected to everyday life, which is one. What is one real example that help you understand economics better?
One real word example, just in general or like in my life specifically?
Anything would be fine.
Wait, can I hear the question again?
Sure. So, Stella, economics is connected to everyday life, which is one, or what is one real example that help you understand economics better?
One real world example. Well, I'm gonna say in my own life, in my everyday life, um, a bit of a guilty one. I run out of money very quickly. I spend my money a lot. So I'd say in terms of that, that's more of like a budgeting and saving thing. But um, I know when I spend my money, I'm contributing to the economy. So that's how I positively affect the economy. But I'm also negatively affecting my own personal economy by not saving up for the future.
Wow, Stella. So, Stella, which is one lesson you have learned from your journey so far that has changed the way you think about success?
Well, I've always struggled with like stress and learning how to keep going in the face of like a difficulty or something. Like last year was like really difficult for me. I was juggling many things. I couldn't keep my grades up. It was bad. But from that, I learned that you shouldn't stretch yourself too thin. Like you shouldn't take on more things than you know you can handle. And it's okay to like do bad every once in a while. You don't have to win at everything that you do. As long as you learn something from it, I'd say you haven't lost. Like if you're in a competition and you lose the competition, as long as you learn something from that experience, you didn't really lose. That's how I carry out my life.
Great one, Stella. So, Stella, moving to my last question for today's interview. For students who want to start podcasting or learn about economics but feel unsure, what simple step would you recommend?
Well, how I've done it so far, I'd say just start, you know. I started by watching other economics related podcasts. I can't name names. I know there was one, it was called Money Something, Money Talks or something like that. So I started by watching that. And I also started by reading like economic articles and stuff like that, and taking the words they use from there and their tone and their speeding. And I try to apply that to my own podcast. So I'd say like just draw inspiration anywhere you can find it.
Thank you so much, Stella, for joining me today and sharing me your experience in podcast economics and student leadership, and also your work with Econ United and your passion for making complex ideas into simple. It's really inspiring for young leaders and future creators. And the thing I love most in this interview that the way you explain and tell me and answer my questions was so amazing. And the baby part, the way you smile is so gorgeous. I love it. And thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for joining me and giving me your precious time. And thank you so much for everyone listening to Future Justice Talks. Stay curious, keep learning, and keep building your future with purpose. This was Anantha, Justice Valley. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.